So, what happens when you release a game that's a direct follow-up to another game on a different console and then release the follow-up to that game on the same console the first game was released on? No one knows what the fuck is going on!
What's going on? A scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream. I want to line the pieces up. Yours and mine.
The game opens up with an FMV recapping the events of the first two games, set to a brand new song called Sanctuary, also by Udata Hikaru. It's a solid song, but I personally prefer simple and clean. It's much more of a bop, more high tempo, I'd say, more bopping, bippity, booping, and bopping. The game begins not with Sora, but the boy that was shown at the end of Chain of Memories named Roxas, who lives in Twilight Town, which we saw a bit of in Chain of Memories. He spends his days hanging out with his friends, Hayner, Pence, and Olette, eating ice cream and beating each other with foam swords. Why do all the kids in these games just want to beat each other up with, like, sticks? Or just swords or balls or whatever. But there have been strange happenings in Twilight Town, such as photos being stolen along with the word, which doesn't freak anybody out for some reason, and mysterious white creatures that keep popping up, led by Axel, returning from Chain of Memories, who apparently seems to know him. And to make matters even weirder, Roxas keeps having on visions of Sora from the first game, and as things get progressively weirder, Roxas makes his way to a mysterious mansion. He learns from Naminé that he's apparently a part of Sora. So, remember back in Kingdom Hearts 1 when Sora stabbed himself with Riku's Keyblade and turned into a Heartless? So, when a strong-willed person becomes a Heartless, the body they leave behind forms a will of its own and becomes a nobody, and Roxas is Sora's nobody. And for Sora to wake up, Roxas can't exist. Diz found out about this, and him and Riku captured Roxas and placed him into a digital recreation of Twilight Town. And I'm assuming because Sora and Roxas were connected, because Sora's memory was messed with, he doesn't remember that he was best friends with Axel and that he was one of the members of the organization that we saw in Chain of Memories. And upon reaching Sora, Roxas gives into his fate and joins back with Sora. It's actually pretty sad. But who has time to be sad when Donald, Goofy, and Sora all together again, you know, having a good time, just whatever. Just push those dad thoughts away. Push them away. Put them in a box and just leave them in there until, like, later. You'll need them later. Trust me, you'll need them later. And upon waking up Sora and the gang, I'll end up in the real Twilight Town when they run into King Mickey, who tells them to board the train. And after a legit sad moment when Sora cries after saying goodbye to Hayner, Pence, and Olette, they board the train and head to a mysterious tower, where they run into Pete, who works in Maleficent, but doesn't know that she's, you know, kind of dead, kind of like a stain in the ground, considering last time, He informs them that the tower belongs to a man named Yen Sid, who is a Keyblade master who trained the king. He gets Sora and the gang up to speed, informing that the worlds are once again in danger, not only from the Heartless, but also this time under the threat of the organization. That's finally given a name here. It's called Organization 13. It's comprised of 13 nobodies, although they're short of a few members because and after getting some sweet new duds, Sora and the gang head out to explore the worlds once again to find their friends and defeat the Heartless and the nobodies. But as they do,
Maleficent!
this means nothing. Their journey this time around takes them through a couple worlds from the previous games, such as Agrabah, Olympus, Colosseum, Hollow Bastion, Halloween Town, 100 Acre Wood, and Atlantica. And some new worlds such as Port Royal from Pirates of the Caribbean, which its art style really clashes with the main art style of the game. It looks weird. Land of Dragons from Mulan, Beast Castle from Beauty and the Beast, Disney Castle, Space Paranoid from Tron, and Timeless River and Pride Lands, where you can drift for days. Once again, the Disney worlds don't have a whole lot to do with the main plot. While it is better than the first game, with Organization 13 popping up here and there, Pete traveling around trying to recruit Heartless from Maleficent, he's kind of like Team Rocket. Shows up, tries to start trouble, gets thrashed, and run away. Soon it's revealed that Kairi gets kidnapped by Axel, which is another thing Sora and the gang have to worry about. But halfway through the game, it's revealed that Ansem, the guy we beat in the first game, wasn't actually Ansem, but was one of Ansem's apprentices named Xehanort, who stole its name in research and willingly turned himself into a Heartless to become stronger. And since he had a strong will, he also has a nobody, and his nobody, named Xemnas, is the leader of Organization 13. And it turns out the real Ansem, named Ansem the Wise, is actually alive, and he disguised himself as Diz in order to try and learn how to stop the organization. And Saïx, another member of the Organization 13, reveals their plan to Sora. They've been capturing the hearts of all the Heartlesses that have been defeated by the Keyblade, and they've been making their own Kingdom Hearts in order to give themselves hearts of their own. And to make matters worse, Saïx tells Sora that he kidnapped Kairi from Axel, which at this point it's just kind of comedic, because she's literally just getting passed around from member to member to member. It's just hilarious, honestly, at a point. And after a clue from Riku, they head back to Twilight Town, where they head into the digital Twilight Town, and with help from Axel, who kidnapped Kairi in order to try and reunite with Roxas, who are just friends, I swear, nothing else, none whatsoever. What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. They're definitely not gay. I don't know what you mean, come on. Sacrifices himself in order for Sora and the gang to enter the organization's fortress, the world that never was. They storm the castle, and with help of Naminé, who if you haven't figured out by now is Kairi's nobody, and Riku, and they're finally all reunited. And if you're wondering why he looks like Ansem / Xehanort, because when he fought Roxas, he had to use all the power of darkness that he had to beat him, which turned him into Ansem / Xehanort for some reason. Wasn't that weird, like hula skirt form? Isn't that like how he harnessed the power of darkness? Why does this harnessing it now make it so that he's Ansem now? Wasn't the whole point of Chain of Memories to like defeat Ansem and make sure he doesn't get control over his body? If anything, he even kind of backtracks on darkness for some reason, kind of rendering his whole entire storyline in Chain of Memories moot. It's kind of waste of story and just kind of ruins his story from Chain of Memories, which I really liked. And after taking care of the last couple members of the organization, they find Ansem, who sacrifices himself in order to right his mistakes, as he believes that it is his fault for the organization for being around, and he greatly damages Kingdom Hearts and reverts Riku back into his normal form. And with his help, both Sora and Riku defeat Xemnas and finally return home to the islands and reunite with their friends, and the game ends with Sora, Kairi, and Riku receiving a letter from King Mickey. What does it say? No idea. Wait like 5 games, then I'll get back to you on that. This is definitely the point in the series where the story started to get more complicated, but there are some things that needed development, like the organization, for example. While I like the designs of the organization members, they need a lot more development because a bunch of them are just so one note. Like, Luxor is just a gambler, Demyx is a coward. Like, most of them are very one note except for like Axel, Saïx, Xigbar, and Xemnas. Every other one just like is boring, doesn't really do a whole lot. For being the big threat of the game, they don't really start doing anything until the second half of the game, when you have to revisit all the world the second time. Yes, you heard me right, you have to revisit almost every single world at least twice in this game. Some of them are decently connected, like Beast Castle. There's a member organization there. Xigbar is trying to turn Beast into a Heartless, and you fight him in the second visit. That's actually pretty cool. But then there are ones that don't really mesh together, like in Land of the Dragons. The first visit, you fight Shan Yu, the villain from the movie Mulan. But the second visit, there's just the dragon there. You gotta go beat it, and that's kind of really about it. It's just like the second visit for a good chunk of these worlds just come off as padding. Like, there's no real purpose to it. It's just there to make the game longer. And this is a pretty long game. So, yeah. Speaking of worlds, in Kingdom Hearts 1, the world design could be a bit confusing. Where am I going? What's happening? Who are you? Much more straightforward in design this time around. And it's always clear where you have to go. And my favorite world has to be Timeless Liver. Timeless Liver. I gotta include that in some point. Timeless Liver. My favorite world has to be Timeless River, mainly for the aesthetic. I love how all the designs are old-timey, and the sound design is fantastic, making everything sound old like it was all recorded on old microphones. Except Treasure Chest for some reason. Ooh, so close to perfection. And most of the worlds have at least one unique element in it, like in Port Royal when you fight the Cursed Pirates. And when they're in shadows, you can't hit them, but you can hit them in light. Or Lands of Dragons has the morale meter, or Atlantica. I don't know how they made it worse in Kingdom Hearts 1. Atlantica is basically one big rhythm game, which doesn't sound too bad, but unlike most rhythm games where you hit a bunch of buttons in succession, you only press one at a time. And with how good the soundtrack to the series is, it's gotta have good music, right? Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Well, the songs that are from the Little Mermaid movie are fine, but the original songs aren't great, and you can definitely tell Haley Joel Osment is trying. He's not the best singer.
Darling, it's better down where it's wetter, take it from me.
Speaking of soundtrack, it's my favorite from this series, and since this is the remixes, the redone soundtrack here is phenomenal. While the original was good, there were a few songs that were lacking but are much better here. And with that all the way, let's talk about the gameplay. And the best way that I can describe it is Kingdom Hearts 1, but much more refined, more fluid, and much faster. Abilities return in Kingdom Hearts 1, and since Sora lost all of his abilities and Enchanted Memories, he has a plethora of brand new abilities that greatly increase his combat abilities, and by the end game you can do some ridiculous combos, and magic is back, with some spells from the first game like Thunder and Blizzard, which are basically the same from the first game. Fire, which acts a bit different here. Instead of shooting a fireball, the fire circles around you and it's good for crowd control. And Cure, which when used, instead of using a section of the magic meter, it uses the whole meter, so you have to use it wisely. And some new spells like Magnet that gather enemies to your location, and my personal favorite, Reflect. It works like Block, but reflects back damage to the enemy. I use magic much more here than I did in KH1. It's much faster to use, and you can chain it with combos better, and the magic meter is also used for limits. Where Sora teams up one of his party members, uses a combo attack to use up the magic meter. These are a spectacle, my favorites being Mulan's and Riku's. Now, you may have noticed a meter above the magic meter. That, my friends, is the drive gauge, which is used for summons, which I used once, so that tells you how much I care about those. Sorry, Chicken Little. Your movie was okay. I haven't watched it in years, but and because of Sora's new outfit, he gains access to Drive Forms, special forms that allow Sora to gain special abilities, and after gaining a certain amount of XP, allows Sora to equip brand new abilities. XP is gained differently in each form, with a total of 5 forms. Valor form, which allows Sora to dual wield Keyblades and specializes in physical attacks, allows Sora to high jump and gain experience from landing attack. Wisdom form, which specializes in magic and allows Sora to dash and gain experience from defeating Heartless. Master form, which also allows Sora to dual wield and uses both magical and physical attacks and gain experience from picking up drive orbs. Final form, which is his most powerful form. In this form, he also has 2 Keyblades that float next to him and can auto attack. He's super strong with magic and physical attack, also gains the ability to glide. He gains experiences from defeating nobodies, and finally a new form that was added to the final mix version of the game, Limit form. It allows Sora to use all his abilities from Kingdom Hearts 1 and also allows him to do the dodge roll, and you gain experience points by finishing limits. It's also my favorite because whenever you use all the limits, whenever they land, you regain health, and it can be really helpful in like tight spots. And when you put all this together, you have my favorite combat system in the whole entire series. There's a reason Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Another thing that was greatly improved is the gummy ship segments. Like the combat is much faster and smoother. In Kingdom Hearts 1, it was slow, clunky, felt like a drag. Here, it's much more arcadey with enemies filling up the screen. You have missiles, small ships you can equip to you for more firepower, and there's also extra missions you can do, which I've never done. Take it as you will. But as much as I love this game, that doesn't mean it's flawless. And one of the game's biggest flaws is that for a good chunk of the base game, It's a bit too easy, which is addressed in the post-game content in the final mixed version of the game. In the original release, there wasn't a whole lot you could do after you beat the game. You could fight Sephiroth, max out your drive forms, go for high scores in Hades tournaments, and complete Jiminy's journal. That was about it. But in Final Mix, they added so much stuff, it's almost a new game. You can refight the members of the Organization 13 that you beat in Chain of Memories with brand new boss fights. And there's a whole new area called the Cavern of Remembrance, which you're able to go in at about the halfway point of the game. It's an area that you have to have all your forms fully leveled up in order to fully progress through the area. And once you beat the area, you're able to fight all of the 13 members of the organization again, this time with a lot more health. Also crowns scattered all over the world. These are puzzle pieces. This is another thing that got added in the Final Mix. And once you complete the puzzle, you get special items. There's so much stuff added here that it really makes me ask the question, why the f*** it take so long for them to bring it over here? I mean, seriously, it's like a whole entire new game. I would totally buy this again. I mean, seriously, it's basically like a Game of the Year edition for the game. Other game companies did this around this time, the PS2 era, like Atlas. They released Persona 3 FES edition, which added new story content, weapons, armor, didn't fix the combat at all. But I'll get to that. Don't worry, everything is coming. It just baffles me, especially because of all the new cutscenes in the game that are pretty important to the overall story of the series. I remember looking up a bunch of stuff about Final Mix on YouTube when it was out in Japan, thanks to
Hyrie! Traitor.
Sephiroth!
Yuffie!
Roxas!
Why?
I'm a fool.
Xemnas!
You're right.
good memories, good times. I wanted to play them so bad, but I had no knowledge about importing games, modding consoles, or anything like that, or emulation or anything like that. So I can only wait. I'm just glad I finally get to play it. Even it took like 10 years to get here. So, with the success of Kingdom Hearts 2, you'd think they would take the PlayStation consoles, or at least home consoles, but little did we know that Chain of Memories was just the beginning. And next time, we'll start going down that road, as we look at 358 Days Over 2. Oh wait, I almost forgot to talk about Lingering Will. Oh god! Why, hello there, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video here today. So yeah, finally got Kingdom Hearts 2 video out. I'm not sure when the next one's gonna be coming out. Hopefully not as long as this one. Just took me a little bit, because, you know, I had to work, and Thanksgiving came up with family and all that stuff, so I wasn't able to get that out as much. But hey, if you enjoyed, subscribe. I'm working on some more videos. And also, you can look at some of my other videos. I'm going through the Kingdom Hearts Kingdom Hearts games, if I can talk properly. I'm going through the Kingdom Hearts games, the one, Chain of Memories. If you want to check those out, you can. I've also been doing some more live streaming with me and a good friend of mine, Holly. I've been playing some Kingdom Hearts on there, and I also been playing some of the Persona dancing games. They'll probably put a link to that somewhere around here, so if you want to check that out, you can. And, okay, so yeah, it's hopefully it'll have the next one out soon, but in the meantime, have a good one.